We will see that in New York tonight. I know that a number of bars in the city, people were tuned in, they're watching sports. When the announcement came in, their attention turned away from sports to this news. You know as well as anyone what this means to people in New York. So we'll be sampling that reaction as well. You know, when the president said tonight to the victims' families, we have never forgotten you. This is a good and historic day for our country. Those are certainly the kinds of words that people like John Cartier and his family wanted to hear.
Byron, you were in Afghanistan during the war. You saw some of the terrain where Bin Laden was hiding out. Did you, as a correspondent, did you ever think that he would ever be captured?
Yes. Because we knew that the U.S. was putting so much effort into it. Many of us thought it would be difficult to find him in Afghanistan. Our colleague Laura Logan was talking earlier about how difficult the terrain is in Afghanistan. It's difficult to move around. It's difficult because of all the caves. And because he had the home field advantage, if you will, in Afghanistan, it might be difficult to find him. But for a long time, there have been speculation he was in Pakistan, that our best effort to capture or kill Osama Bin Laden would occur in Pakistan.
Byron Pitts, thank you so much. You're watching CBS News live coverage, a special report. Osama Bin Laden has been killed, and his body is now in American hands. President Barack Obama made the announcement just a few minutes ago. Let's go back and hear a few words of what the president had to say.
And finally, last week, I determined that we had enough intelligence to take action and authorized an operation to get Osama Bin Laden and bring him to justice. Today, at my direction, the United States launched a targeted operation against that compound in Abbottabad, Pakistan. A small team of Americans carried out the operation with extraordinary courage and capability. No Americans were harmed. They took care to avoid civilian casualties. After a firefight, they killed Osama bin Laden and took custody.
The President of the United States speaking just a few moments ago on how Bin Laden was captured, how he was killed, and what happened after that. Lara Logan is our chief foreign affairs correspondent. She's in our Washington bureau. Lara, you have some new information for us as well as to how this operation went down.
That's right, Russ. You know, just in the last few days, the highest level units on the special operations side that are trained specifically for this kind of mission were activated. And the best example that I've been given for how this operation would have gone down is a situation as was portrayed in Black Hawk Down, because you have a compound that was on the ground, and what special operations would typically do in this situation is use U.S. Army Rangers to form a cordon around the compound, and then it would be organizations like Delta Force and SEAL Team 6 that would have carried out the infiltration of that compound. They would have gone room to room, clearing, killing. They would have been involved in the firefight that the president was talking about, and these organizations are trained for, you know, the hostage rescue, body recovery, high-value target operations. There is no higher than this. This is what's known as Tier 1 in the special operations community on the black side, as it's known. And what's significant about this is that it was a military operation that was carried out, that was authorized by the president and carried out. He's talked about intelligence that he was given, and obviously there is a high degree of cooperation between the CIA and the military on this. But one of the most significant things that is coming through is that human intelligence was involved. And you'll note that the president referred specifically to an American operation, a U.S. ground operation. He did not mention involving the Pakistanis at all. And that is incredibly significant, since this not only took place on Pakistani soil, but this is where the world's most wanted man, the man America wanted more than anybody else, has been hiding out for the past 10 years. And it seems impossible that the Pakistani security forces, their intelligence services, who are very, very good, everybody knows that they have their ear to the ground, their network is, their eyes and ears stretch right across Pakistan. The idea that they would not have known that Osama bin Laden was there is improbable. It sounds improbable at this point. The president did, reach out to his Pakistani allies somewhat, but he made the point that this was an American operation, and that is incredibly significant, Russ.
Lara Logan in Washington, thanks a lot. Juan Zarate is our terrorism consultant, terrorism expert. Other than the obvious one of what the president said in his statement a few few moments ago. What jumped out at you?
Well, I just want to key off of what Laura said, because I think the fact that the president indicated that this was an operation deep inside of Pakistan, the fact that he called the Pakistani leadership tonight, not before the fact, signals that the president was willing to roll the dice here and use military assets to go across the border into Pakistan. This is incredibly sensitive. We've seen in the past where a couple of such instances over the last 10 years have proven quite problematic with Pakistan. But as Laura was saying, the Pakistanis are going to be very hard-pressed to protest here, given the fact that bin Laden was so deep in Pakistan. And so there's going to be much consternation about that in terms of the relationship. But I think that was significant in terms of how the president presented the facts.
Juan Zarate in Washington, thank you very much. It is coming up on midnight Eastern Time. Let's recap now. Osama bin Laden has been killed by American forces, and the U.S. has his body. Let me go ahead and give you some statements by some leaders around the world. As Chip Reed pointed out, former President George W. Bush issued a statement earlier announcing how pleased he is at tonight's developments. Here's a statement by President Bill Clinton. He says this is a profoundly important moment, not just for the families of those who lost their lives 9/11 and then al-Qaeda's other attacks, but for people all over the world who want to build a common future of peace, freedom, and cooperation for our children. He said, I congratulate the President, the National Security Team, and the member of our armed forces on bringing Osama bin Laden to justice after more than a decade of murderous al-Qaeda attacks. This obviously is a big deal in the war on terror, and there are celebrations taking place around the country tonight. Let's go now to a picture of what's going on outside the White House. People are celebrating. This is a scene that's being repeated all over the country tonight. Byron Pitts, my colleague here a moment ago, saying this is a scene that's being repeated in bars and homes, all sorts of places all over the country. Osama bin Laden had been on the FBI's most wanted list, terror list, since 1998. 3 presidential administrations went after him, couldn't get him. He was killed in a firefight, and again, his body is now in American hands. A huge moment for the war on terror, a huge moment for the United States. It'll be interesting to see how the Obama administration responds to this tomorrow. The president making a statement earlier tonight saying this was a big day in the war on terror, of course, but he said this is not the end of the war on terror. He said justice has been done, and he congratulated all the men and women in our armed forces who helped do this over the years and capture Osama bin Laden. Again, the rich guy from Saudi Arabia, the rich kid from Saudi Arabia who grew up to become the most wanted terrorist in the world. You've been watching a CBS News special report. Osama bin Laden has been killed. More later on CBS News Up to the Minute and in the early show. I'm Russ Mitchell in New York. We'll see you soon.
For news 24 hours a day, go to CBSNews.com.